What's up, Avalanche? It's JRPG Book Club with Ty,
Jack.
And Bill.
and we're back for another episode. So, this episode kind of snuck up on us, but the Final Fantasy VII Remake is here. It's a huge gaming event, obviously. Everybody's been talking about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it didn't
this
really
is the
sneak up
game.
on us. We knew all about this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was
But-
going to take me longer to get through and piece it out or whatever. I didn't
Yeah.
expect the virus to be happening or whatever.
yeah.
So I was expecting, I was going to take a couple weeks to do it. We all beat this in a weekend, basically. So we decided to do the episode earlier and bring it out to you guys.
Yeah.
Sound's going to be a little different this week because we're recording remotely.
Yeah.
Instead of our normal just all in one room.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be too bad, I don't think, but we'll see how it goes. You could let
There'll
us know.
there'll definitely be recognizable difference, but at the same time, everybody else is doing it. Like, stay safe.
Everyone should be used to it, yeah, at this point. All right, let's get into it. This is a monumental game for the industry, for the genre, for all of us. I know for me personally, this was one of the big games for me, and I think a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited to get into it.
Yeah, I think easily one of our most anticipated games of the year for all of us.
For the decade.
Next to Cyberpunk, this was my top most hyped game.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I mean, we had the get together. Did you go to that when E3 was happening to watch the Final Fantasy VII trailer?
Oh yeah,
at my house.
I was at your house and we watched it drop. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. We ordered a bunch of food and stuff, and it was just we were so excited to see this trailer because okay, Square Enix, this is happening, finally happening. So exciting. But yeah, so this is a very a big deal for a lot of people, myself included. I know for me, this is one of the I'd seen Final Fantasy. I know it was around. I didn't really get into the franchise until 7. 7 was one of the first personal experiences I had in gaming. Where this game was a game that I was actively playing myself. It's like Pokemon, a couple other Game Boy games. I watched some Sonic the Hedgehog and some other random shit at my friend's house. But the game that was one of the big draws to the genre for me outside of Pokemon was Final Fantasy VII. I remember I was going on a trip somewhere, and where we were staying had a PS1 and a copy, and I didn't do anything else that trip. I was glued to that TV playing Final Fantasy, and that was it. My love for it spawned out of there. Eventually I'd own the game and other stuff like that, and I've played it outside of a limited format of it. But that was super exciting because that and what this game covers is just after the Shinra headquarters part. So most of Midgar, basically all of Midgar scenes.
Yeah.
And that is basically what I experienced on that trip. So this whole section was a very personal run through for me because this is where it really started, was this fraction of time.
Yeah.
So for me, this was a very big deal. Ryan, my roommate, could probably attest to just me he could hear me from my room geeking out of stuff. It was one of those because there's so many parts of that where I was just like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this thing happened. Wall Market was amazing. All this other stuff was amazing, and it was just actually implementing this game into another medium. Full 3D, full things like that, and into an action environment was. I think they did a really good job with it. I'm very happy with it. So,
yeah, because I didn't play Final Fantasy VII until I think I was in high school. So I hopped on the train pretty late, but I've been a big fan of Final Fantasy for a long time.
Yeah.
And I just considered the first 7 a masterpiece. It's the perfect RPG, or at least it was at the time. And it's still a very, very good game. I still, once again, consider it a masterpiece. And
the original one, yeah.
Yeah, so to just have all of this hype going into a remake and all of this talk about a remake, I still remember during my prom, there was a guy I knew who was just like,
Your
dude,
prom.
I have a friend that works at Square Enix, and he told me Final Fantasy VII's getting a remake. It's going to be on the Xbox 360 and like all this stuff.
Do you remember that tech demo from like 2005?
PS3,
Yeah.
Dude, 2005, that tech demo. Oh,
Yeah.
I remember like seeing that and like having my mind blown. I'm like, why isn't this a thing? Why isn't this real?
Yeah,
Just, like,
everybody
freaking
lost
out.
their minds.
And then
everyone was
the
like,
next
"It's
one was
gonna
like what,
happen, they're doing remake."
2013,
Yeah.
and then 2015, and then like the proper reveal last like 2 years or whatever it's been, something like that. And man, like I think I sent it to you guys, the like differences from those trailers, and like the way how far it came as a as the images, and stuff like that, where you have like Cloud jumping off the train right after that, and you have that like little cinematic and stuff, and like how far it's come.
Yeah, and something that's insane is like there's this whole legacy and all this hype built up, and then it comes out and it just lives up to it.
That's the thing. It exceeded mine.
A lot of really good points. It hits all the beats it needs to, and it does it well.
And
it does some extra stuff, not as well, but I'm so happy with it.
Yeah.
We already talk about this.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was one of those things is we held off all discussions to record this from like our first like explaining of our thoughts and stuff. So this is very, very much a live thing, for us. So where should we start?
So we should probably save the story for last, because that's when we're going to get into a lot of spoilers.
I agree.
There will be spoilers in here, but it won't be. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep it to the last like 25 minutes.
That's the hope.
Or at least the last quarter. But I think first we should start off with gameplay.
Okay. So the biggest thing about the gameplay is I feel like it's a much more refined version of, so like 15. A lot of people compared it to 15. A lot of people compared it to Kingdom Hearts, right?
It's the same engine, from what I remember.
Yeah, it has a modified engine of 15.
Right, and you can see that. I mean, the game is beautiful. The game is like works really well. The combat itself, the combat system itself is a better version of 15. I had minor issues with 15. I think there's some certain things you just couldn't really control in that regard, and it was kind of annoying because it was like stuff that you should be able to do, but you couldn't.
Yeah.
Or like stuff they had to learn in a weird way. For the most part, everything's presented to you pretty straightforwardly, I think, in this game. There's little intricacies that you learn and stuff. One thing that I was reading was a lot of people were having issues with the AI and stuff. But the AI it's one of those things is they're going to do basic attacks. It's your job to control them. It's your job to control what their special attacks are, if they're going to heal you, if they can do other things like that. That's you.
Yeah.
If they're doing bad, that's your fault. That's my feeling on it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it does a lot for you. But like the point is you're it's a remake, right? And they're trying to adapt the original system that was for Final Fantasy VII, which is a turn-based RPG, into an action RPG while still keeping the certain elements of it. And ATB Gage, I think, the way they handled that, did it really well.
Yeah. It's funny because in a way, it kind of reminded me of the recent Fire Emblem Three Houses. Because in Fire Emblem, you see like the armies that these characters are commanding, which like kind of translates to health and stuff.
Right.
And I felt that in 7, because when you're fighting, when you're switching between the characters, when you're using the ATB gogs, like outside of the turn-based element, that's kind of like what I imagined when I played through it. These characters fighting and going back and forth. Like in the story, they're not just standing there staring at each other, like they're fighting.
Exactly.
And this game took the system and then translated it
into real
super well into like what I imagined.
100%. I had a very similar thought process on that. So
and it adds a lot of depth for the combat as well, especially having enemies having a stagger gauge, which I know that a lot of people have been hating that kind of mechanic in games recently.
Is what?
Yeah.
One more time.
The stagger gauge.
Oh yeah.
People don't like that in a lot of games, but I think if it's done well, it works for that game's benefit. And Final Fantasy did a great job because it feels so good when you wail on these guys and then their stagger gauge goes all the way up.
Yeah.
And then you just have everyone do all their crazy moves to just knock a massive chunk out of that.
I like that.
It feels really good.
I like the idea of a stagger gauge in certain elements, as long as it makes sense and it translates to what's being done well. I think this one did a pretty good job of it. Like if you do something that they're weak to, it doesn't just automatically fill it all the way up. It does a big chunk out of it, though. And if you look at like certain people's combat, right? So if you're fighting a guy and Cloud hits somebody with one of his, like, if he's in Punisher mode and you do the charge hit, that might do a bigger chunk versus like Tifa's, like, she has to do like 3 punches or 4 punches to get to that point. That makes sense. You know what I mean? So I think it's all about, how they translate it into kind of a real world action setting. And I think they did a good job. Like I said, I was very happy with it. I think the turnover from 15 or the other games is just phenomenal. And because I remember at the time I was geeking out of how well done that was, to a certain extent as well. Outside of the blaring issues with some of the story content stuff, I enjoyed the combat system as majority's sake, in that I had a lot of fun with it. It was kind of out there, kind of crazy because you're warping around and stuff. This doesn't have that, obviously, but they did a good job. I think the only one thing that really like stood out as one of the only things I could think of that stands out that is like weird is it makes sense, but like how they jump up into like flying enemies. I thought that was kind of goofy. Because it's like, all right, automatically just launch yourself like halfway across the battle, and
I mean, they kind of established that at the beginning of the game when Cloud does that super cool jump in front of Jesse.
Oh, for sure.
They're like, okay, so there's gonna be some fun little crazy anime aspects.
One of the things that bugged me is
okay.
there are times where they should have implemented that kind of thing more, and then they didn't. Where there's certain elements where he could do that. But again, overall, I think they did a very good job with it. I was very happy with it. That was my one minor gripe, is him launching, like just the characters launching up, like that just kind of looks out of place. It makes sense in terms of lore. It makes sense in terms of all of it, because like if you played literally any of the other, if you played any of the other anthology or watched any of the anthologies, if he could absolutely do that. Have you not seen Crisis Core's like opening cinematic where like Zack launches himself through this like tunnel from the train and like lands back onto the train? Like that is absolutely part of this world. And like the thing is like, yes, this is Nomura's stuff, right? Like that's kind of par for the course.
Oh yeah, that's his bread and butter.
It's par for the course with how he is. And like that anthology was a big part of like his project and stuff. Like large majority of that content came out of his brain. And this is him actually like taking those and putting it all into place and stuff. I feel like this remake is really good for that, for like not chronological, but like, big picture stuff for the whole franchise of, or not franchise, but series of Final Fantasy VII's world. Because he was a character designer, and then like didn't really have too much at the time with the original Final Fantasy VII, if I remember correctly. Like Nomura's influences were there, but lesser. He wasn't as big in the company as he is now. Obviously, if I remember correctly, he created a couple elements of it. He was involved with the development of it. He was obviously the character designer and stuff like that, instead of Amano. But it wasn't to the scale he is now, where it's his ideas and everything, When the anthology stuff came out, if I remember correctly, he took a big part on those as well. Like it was a much bigger thing where it was more of his world again.
You could definitely see a little bit more of his impact just kind of in the game in general.
Not that many traps.
We'll kind of yeah we'll get into it a little bit more when the story comes back around,
because there are a bunch of spoilers. Like you could tell that the influences he had were in that last bit, where the most of the spoiler warnings come from.
But to hop back onto like the gameplay, like as you know, Bill, I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy 15. Like I loved it. And a big thing about it is that it was a really feel-good game. Like it had good controls, the battle system felt pretty good, but it still had room for improvement. And for me, like Final Fantasy VII Remake was that improvement. It was just an outright better. It was so silky smooth just playing it. Like it blew me away through the first couple battles. I'm like, oh my god, this feels amazing.
Well, the entire game, like,
and then
just feels like a cinematic. Like it feels like you're playing a cinematic. Thing just because of how good everything looks, for one. You're still playing the game. It's not like it's a movie, because there's some games that like look really good, but like just feel like you're playing a movie, and you don't feel like you're playing the game.
You really do feel like Cloud is there. And an interesting choice that they made is there aren't that many like outright cutscenes.
No, not at all. Yeah,
you're more so like controlling the characters through the cutscenes, and it's funny.
It's not rendered. It's actually in the game.
Yeah, and you can always tell because they always have the weapons, which kind of gave it that extra like layer of like, oh, it's my cloud going through these.
I also had moments where I was I just did like a crazy fire blast or something at the guy, and then right as he died, the cutscene started and the guy was on fire falling.
Well, it's because it's all in the system.
They kept the continuity of the battle.
It's great. They did a great job with that. Basically, like, I only remember like maybe like 2 of those like actual like cinematic, not in-game like rendered cutscenes. I think there's like one in the beginning and like one at the end. So,
yeah, exactly.
Which is very impressive.
Which incredibly impressive. Like it did. You just kind of felt like you were always playing. You never felt like you had to like sit back and wait for something. Like you were always
having played a lot of games when it got really not Final Fantasy VII necessarily, but like where in-game QuickTime events that were happening. I'm just waiting for like a QTE to pop up and like have to input in because it's like, cool, we're still in game. There's going to be a QTE or something. Like,
yeah.
Oh, me too. I would have been not happy about that. But regardless, like, there's a part of me where I'm like, it's in-game rendering. Is it going to pop up? Do I have to have war flashbacks of Resident Evil 4?
Which they're remaking.
Well, rumor.
Apparently.
I don't think that was confirmed.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. But I also want to touch on in the gameplay that during bosses and stuff, there would be moments where it just would go into a cutscene after you wail on this guy a bit. But the cutscenes were short and they didn't overstay their welcome, that it just made that battle much more epic and cinematic, and it felt really good because it flowed.
I feel like they didn't do it that much where it was like, oh great, another one of these, you know.
No, it happens a lot. I've been playing it because during my second playthrough, I'm just
maybe because I was just enamored with it,
and it happens a lot. But it's so quick that you don't notice it, and it just flows really well.
Maybe I was just like really sucked in that way where I didn't even like catch that. So that's a good point. But they did a lot of cool stuff. I mean, again, nothing's perfect, but I think this was a very, very good job. So.
But their materia system, though, I'm so glad they brought that back.
And it was a pretty faithful one.
Yeah, almost like
it was a very faithful bring back of it too. Obviously, it transferred over into the action element. But
right. Certain materia changed, like all materia became magnified.
Yeah,
and it had a different effect, where it you can hit multiple things, but then each extra hit
would be reduced.
Did less damage would be reduced. No, it's just it does the same effect.
Because I think in other Final Fantasies it was because they would reduce thing.
Oh yeah.
Because like
in 7 it wasn't reduced.
It was one of the. I think it was Final Fantasy III. You could use any spell on everyone; it would do less damage. But that was it. Because after that, as you start with Thunder, which is single target, and then Thundara would target everything.
Yeah, and then Thundaga, and this doesn't.
It's just the more powerful one.
You have to have Magnify.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. It's funny though when you get towards the end of the game and you get Aerith, like back at the end, and you equip her with Magnify and Cure, and you're just like, cool. One like a normal Cure will just like heal your character to like 100%. Because I had that on Barrett beforehand, and it'd be like, cool. I gotta do like Curaga to heal everyone completely. You just like not Cure. Like you have auto Cure plus that. It's like you guys are never going down. Siren.
But yeah, like I'm really excited for the materia system. I was really pleasantly surprised with how they handled summons too. You get quite a few of them, and they come up more often than not. I thought it would be like you can only use them during boss battles, but they can come up during regular battles too.
I was a mix on it. I was definitely a mix on it in terms of like how you obtain them. Because there's the DLC ones, right? Those very quickly, just like, all right, whatever. I felt like, but then there's the in-game, not in-game, the simulator. Thank you. Where you get what 3 of them total from there? You get 4 from there.
4.
Yeah, that's right. and then you get the 2. Yeah, you get the 2 from like the actual in game.
You get one from Jesse and one from finding.
And so it was one of those things for me where I felt like there shouldn't have been it. I feel like I should just been able to find them, the rest of them, personally.
Yeah, I wish that they did that, but they actually weren't in the original game at that spot.
It's true.
They're not in Midgar.
So I don't know what that means if we're gonna find it like in world later, if that's the case, or something like that. But that's my one gripe with them. I think how they worked fine. They really got you out of some sticky situations sometimes. And it's just like cool to like every time I summoned one, I'm just like, oh.
He's like, yes, here we go.
Geek out about it.
Well, the simulator I thought worked well because you get to fight them, and I thought that was fun. Instead of finding them, you actually have to earn them.
I like that you have to fight them. I would have loved in the next installment if they do this, where it'll be like, cool, you go to like Shiva's cavern somewhere, and you get to find like the non-synthesized Shiva or something like that, and then you do a fight there, something along those lines. Because I do dig fighting, the elemental battle type stuff. In other games and stuff. I always think those are always really cool, really epic fights. I do kind of like, maybe they do some of them as like, okay, this is like the secret boss battle or something. I kind of dug that. So like I like having the option of fighting, okay, this is a hard boss or something that you get, but you get a really, really good thing out of it, a sick thing out of it, So yeah, I'm a mix on that, but I think overall it was good. So that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, the overall materia system was fun, but there was one thing I really want to talk to you guys about. How did you like playing as the characters? Because every character gave you like such a different feel.
Yeah, like, they really were different from each other.
Yeah, and I have to admit, like this is like one of my like actual only 2 complaints about the whole game, and like at least to me, Aerith just wasn't fun. She was like the only character.
She became fun for me. Towards the end, where you equip like the certain materials to her, and you're just OP. Like she'll just like one shot somebody with fire. You don't have to worry about her MP because she has so much of it, and like is just she just one shot stuff if you know what to do with her. Because before that, it's like, all right, cool, you get this weak attack. You only really use her her basic attack for refilling the ATB gauge, and otherwise you're just spamming magic with her. Because like I had to use her a bunch. Because I was switching between her and Barret a ton during that one fight at the end, and because I had to have Barret as the main tank, but I would switch to Aerith so she could heal and do just the magic damage that needed to win the fight. That helped a lot. Barret could produce that, but he had a lot less MP to do so. So utilizing both was very important, and I actually had a lot of fun playing as Aerith in that because she was just anything to do with magic, it was just broken basically. Like again, cure was heal everybody fully.
Found
for me.
Yeah. So like when I was playing, I ended up switching between the characters really frequently to the point where I didn't stick with a main person. If I did, I would choose Tifa.
The combat with her was really fun.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
But but Aerith, I found that she was you want to get her ATB up, and once you do that, I found her super powerful with because I didn't, so I don't play with magic. I don't do that. I have it on so I can level it up, and I'll use it on a weakness for an enemy if I need to. But like, I focused more on the ATB stuff. But I found that they gave Aerith some really good skills, like that
the sorceress thing or whatever
devastates everything. It's one of the only area of effect moves in the game. Yeah. And it just takes guys out.
It's great.
And then her ray of light move is just great for people who are staggered.
Well, her arcane ward thing is amazing, where it creates the circle where if you do magic in it's dual cast. Yeah. They gave her dual cast, which once I realized like that's how that works, I'm like, oh damn, okay. And it doesn't cost any more like MP to do it. So
it costs less MP.
Oh, does it? Either way, like cool. Let me cast 2 Firagas and just one like knock this guy down.
Really good.
It was like, oh, sorry.
But yeah, like for the Barret though, I ended up finding out that I enjoyed his melee weapons more than his guns.
Those are fun.
So for a good chunk, I stuck with his melee.
I did that for a little bit.
I'd only do the first 2 hits. I wouldn't do the third because it took so long.
Yeah.
But he ended up becoming my tank and was stronger than Cloud with the weapons I had at the time.
No,
so
God.
he would
just one-shot guys.
Just go up, hit guys. And he would finish the move.
If you didn't finish them, you just Maximum Fury.
I got to, Maximum Fury was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you can shoot out of a cannonball, but whatever.
Yeah. What's great though with him is you build him as a tank. He gets an absurd amount of health when you build him right. You immediately when you go into battle, if you have a melee weapon, he starts with his triangle button gauge all the way filled with it. So you get a little close. He charges them to a wall, smacks them down. They get knocked out, and then you just wail on them. By then, you already have most of your ATB gauges full, both of them, almost completely full. So you just do like one more hit, then you Maximum Fury, and like any basic enemy is basically dead at that point. So that's why it was really good. His other weapons, when you got Big Bertha. Big Bertha is a good weapon. I didn't get
Big Bertha was amazing.
I missed I think Tifa and Barrett's final weapon. I got everything else weapon wise.
I didn't know about the weapon from the boss in the graveyard, so I missed that one.
The one that you could steal.
Because like it was worthless up until that point, so I never used it.
Yeah, I got such a laugh because a friend of mine, I told him like when you beat the game, message me. I want to talk about it. And the first thing he messaged me after he beat the game was, I didn't steal that goddamn weapon. And he was so mad about it. This is like, I'm trying to 100%. Didn't know that I had to do that. I have to play through the entire graveyard again. And like was so mad.
That I was so
and
happy.
I got it first try.
I mean, I had to steal a couple times, but I saw it because I assess almost every enemy I see as long as the character that I have assess on is there. And so I got in that battle, assess. I'm like, oh, thank God. Thank God I read this.
Yeah. And I just perchance just had steal on Tifa because I'm like, I put it on her. I'm like, this will come in handy eventually.
I think I had to reset.
Like, sooner or later.
I reset the battle because I didn't have steal on. Because I initially did. I took it off for some reason. Then I just had it on her.
Yeah. Because I was like, this is a Final Fantasy game. Like, there's going to be one insane thing you can steal. And then, of course, as soon as you assist, it's like, in big letters, like, you can steal from this. And it's like, oh, okay, there we go. That's it.
Sounds about right.
I was like so tempted to just like take it off after that because I was like, I'm not going to need it. Like I already sold the one big thing,
wrong.
but still, just getting extra like elixirs.
Yeah, the elixirs. Nice. There's a couple equipments that are really good that you can steal and get them early. Some of those are really good because you get some like late game equipment pretty early on if you want to with it.
Yeah.
I missed that. I missed Barrett's final gun.
Okay.
I think
EMP
I missed his too.
I think both of those are in chapter like 16 because I missed Tifa's and I missed Barrett's final weapons. I got everybody else's.
What's Tifa's final?
Tifa's final one is
it's the purple glove.
It's like a purple glove. You get it in the Shinra headquarters. You know when she's like jumping off those platforms and stuff. It's during that.
God.
I thought I looked really. I thought I looked everywhere, but I guess I didn't.
It's before you go start hanging and crossing
easily missable
the grate on the top.
Yeah,
you got to go the opposite direction.
Yeah,
and there's a different grate you cross.
Yeah, because I was like so confident that I got like almost everything I could. I was like, maybe I missed one or two things, and then when I got to the chapter select and it shows you all the things you missed, I was like, oh my God.
I was pretty happy with that. I missed some of the manuscript stuff, but that's only on hard mode. Most of those, because I think all of my chapters except for like that last bit, like those ones had like everything at like 0 basically. So I felt really good about that. Because I missed those two weapons, and I didn't do the last freaking pull-ups challenge.
Man, my God!
Did that. That was
I spent
so
too
hard.
much time.
I did that for like almost an hour.
I don't want to talk about it.
Hell.
I swear, I was doing the inputs exactly
and then they would
as
fall out.
I should be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that would be it was
like a
ridiculous.
roided lady over there.
Yeah, like what was it? So for the first one, for the first time that I did it, when it's just like the normal one,
squats. Thank you.
Squats. Yeah, it made me so frustrated. I plugged in my fight stick Because I was like, I know the combo. I know how to do this in Street Fighter. I'll just do it like that. And it like after that, like first try on the fight stick, I got it. And then for the second one, it was just annoying.
Unnecessary.
Oh my god. The second challenge was like nuts. I did it, I think, probably for about an hour before I finally got it.
So bad for Tifa for making her have to do all those pull-ups.
It was one of the things where it's like, it's not even where you don't understand the mechanic. I just kind of felt like it was kind of broken.
Yeah.
But QTE type stuff, like I felt like, it was like, cool, all right, hit the buttons over and over again.
Yeah.
There's no reason why that other one.
Yeah.
Because you do it perfect and it'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
She has like 10 more pull-ups than you.
Yeah. What was it? Something that I have to bring up though, and this kind of branches and continues our gameplay theme, is the mini games. Because the original one had a lot of mini games, and that's still very true in Remake. And I personally loved them.
Me too.
Like, they were not problems at all. They were pretty simple to do.
Like the motorcycle game was a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
I was really worried about that.
Yeah. The second one I wasn't too fond of, but we'll kind of get into that when we start talking about spoilers. But
can
otherwise,
we talk about the lever mini game, because I hated that. I could not.
I hated that as a kid.
Really?
We would literally do it the exact same time.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, "Nope, that didn't work." And then I would wait and like do it after her. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I'd get it. I would literally flip the sticks at the same time. And it's like, Barrett got it, you didn't, Cloud. Try again. I was like,
it was funny because throughout this entire remake, I realized that every time I would do something, if I had an issue, it was the same kind of issues as I had as a kid. like, did I have an issue with the squats or the squats or whatever? Yes, I did. Did I have an issue this time? Yes, I did. The lever thing. Lever thing was easier this time. I felt like I didn't have as much of an issue. In the original version, that gave me so much trouble.
I never.
Oh no, I did.
In the original,
this was easier for me.
Yeah, I barely remembered it in the original, but when I played it in Remake, I was fine. I got almost all of them like first try. After I figured out how it worked, I was like, okay, easy, and I did it. And I was watching my girlfriend play it a couple days ago, and she was having so much trouble. I was like, "This is so easy! Like, what are you messing up?"
Oh.
But now that I'm hearing other people were having some troubles with it,
I think I messed up once, maybe twice on it because I did both sets. But like as a kid, I'd be like, "All right." It got so bad as a kid. They have the element where I think if you mess it up like 3 or 4 times, they're like, "Do you want us to just do it for you?" And that's what would happen. I would get super frustrated, work through it, and be like,
"You were getting on my case a bit." Yep. I was like,
"So funny." Yeah. You're clearly bad at this. Like, so good.
Getting irritated.
Yeah, but overall, I liked like all of the mini game. Oh, the one that we have to talk about is the dancing game.
I want Final Fantasy dancing all night.
Honestly, like it was honestly a highlight 100%. Of the entire game for me. And like we could talk about this because this was in literally every single one of the trailers. But like dancing at the Honeybee was like it was. Yeah, I really had no idea that it would be that great. Like I knew that the Honeybee scene would be good, but like,
here's the thing, though. You're going to be seeing a lot of this online about people comparing Kingdom Hearts to this.
Yeah,
the Honeybee scene is just Atlantis. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just executed differently, but people love this better.
Yeah, but I care about this one.
I want cross-dressing Cloud. That's what I want. I don't want Sora and his naked body with a mermaid tail. That doesn't do it for me. I want Cloud in a dress. That gets me going.
Yeah, I don't care about Ariel. I
think
Cloud
part of it is
it's
like this transformation scene too and stuff like that. And the thing is, I'm not spending an hour and a half, doing this dancing scene.
Oh, this ambulance.
But I think a big difference is, I felt like this segment of time that it takes you to do the Honeybin end scene is very small. Like it's a mini game rather than like a world of a level. Because like I literally don't remember anything else of Atlantis outside of like I think there's like 2 screens or 3 screens. There's like a transversing screen. There is the like dance arena, not dance arena, but you know what I mean. And then like Ariel's room. And this was literally a cool. Let's do the mini game. I understand that it was a similar kind of thing, but I think this was just executed way better.
Yeah, I think also that it was much easier to understand the timing with the button presses.
Yeah, once you got it, you got it.
That was a problem with Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts it had like a bar, but then when you pushed it, the bar kept going before it disappeared, so you weren't sure when your timing was done right or not.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of people's gripes. And then the songs were annoying. But
dude,
the song in this was great.
Oh my god. Like even just the Honeybee song by itself is amazing. Like I got
the remix is amazing.
Yeah, I have the deluxe version, which has the like remix on it, or it has the mini soundtrack.
I want to buy that vinyl.
And
it's like $100,
same,
like after tax and everything. It hurts my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. It was great. But you know if you do the tutorial dance, perfect. You get one of the soundtracks, the dance soundtrack, the dance music.
That's the only one I missed.
Interesting. Know. Yeah, I know that there was one other one that I missed, but I think I'm
generally terrible at rhythm type stuff. But I think I did the tutorial twice specifically to get how the timing stuff works. And I had just recently played some of the Persona dancing games. There's a siren. Give it a second. But yeah, so I was just playing the Persona dancing games, and so I was. My ability to time the presses, as sad as that sounds, because I'm generally really bad at that kind of stuff, was a lot better than normal. So I was able to get it pretty quickly in comparison. And so like I got that. I was like, oh damn, okay. And then I think you get another trophy for doing the like normal dance like really well. I think you have to do majority presses because I didn't do it perfect, but I did really well.
I'm pretty sure you get one of the dresses if you do well.
Is it?
Yeah.
From what I read online.
Huh.
Because it's really weird because I've been seeing a bunch of different things, and we should probably talk about the dresses as well. About how Aerith and Cloud's dresses depend on what you do in Walmart. Walmart? Tifa. Oh, no, Tifa is determined in Chapter 2.
Aerith and
Tifa is your choices when you tell her what to wear.
Yeah. And see, that was just cute, and it was this interesting thing because you have the throwback dress, and then you've got two new ones.
That was cool.
I thought Aerith's dress was determined on how many quests you did during.
Yeah, it was
Sector 5.
That's what I read.
Oh, interesting. Because I thought it was
all of them. You get the red dress. If you do half of them, you get a different dress, and if you do none of them, you get another dress.
Huh. Okay, so it looks like Cloud's dress is the only one that's actually different.
That one's
if I remember correctly, the original game, depending on like how well you did in the side quest stuff, or like what ones you did, your dress would be slightly like better or worse. Because then Don Corneo's choice will change depending on what you did. Because like
are you sure? I also saw that Cloud's the only one that gets picked.
I'm saying
Cloud is the only one that gets picked in this game.
Yeah. But in this one, it's that. As far as I know.
But I just thought that was just kind of like a cute, larger mini game, and on top of that, they have a trophy for it of getting all the dresses and kind of working your way through all of that. I'm definitely going to do that one. I'm going to just go through the grind.
It's really easy if you just skip all the cutscenes and run through, Bill. I've already done one run.
Yeah, a friend of mine just messaged me saying he just got 6 out of 9, and he did the third run, and the third run he messed up.
I'll probably work on that at some point when I get when I actually start hard mode, because like I got complete hard mode anyway. I'll probably play through hard mode at some point, and then the last trophy. I think the only trophies I'm really missing is hard mode stuff, and then the dresses, because I think I did just about everything else you could do in the game. And the missions.
Yeah. Oh, there's also a kind of super boss that you can only. That's another trophy. I found out about it recently. But you can only get it on hard mode.
Oh, one of the simulator things?
Simulator missions?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, it's something in Don Corneo's Coliseum.
Well, there's that, but then there's also a new super boss at the end of the final simulator mission.
Interesting.
But that's where you get all of your manuscripts anyway, so you're going to want to do those anyway.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Yeah, when I get back to it and go through the hard road route, because it was one of the things where I beat the initial bit, had my nostalgia like maxed, and then I moved on a little bit. I I'm probably gonna go back to it at some point soon, just because of how much I enjoyed it. But I wanted some time to like process before I like jump back in.
Oh yeah, did you guys notice that there were some hidden mechanics in the gameplay as well? Um, at least I didn't see them in the manuals. Like Barrett, for instance, if you're shooting his gun and he does the final shot that's an explosion, he cocks it. But if you hit triangle to charge, he'll cock it at the same time and you'll get some charge. Or
Interesting.
like Cloud, when you're doing operator mode and you hold the button down and he does that slam where he slams his sword into the ground.
Oh, you mean
the hard hit?
mode?
Yeah, the
punishment mode. Yeah. He does the hard hit, and it actually gives Cloud a very small, like 5-second berserk status effect, which will up your attack for a short amount of time. But it only, once you do that move, you get that status effect.
Yeah, I did notice that one. What was the other? Something that I realized they mentioned. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember in the demo they said like, oh, if you hold down the normal attack while you're in operator mode, you do like circle attack to hit multiple things.
I remember hearing about that.
I don't remember them telling you that in Remake. But I do remember it from the demo.
There's a little screen for it, but it doesn't. I don't think it tells you about the berserk effect.
Yeah, it doesn't. Huh. I'm trying to think of any other ones because there wasn't anything too crazy. I don't know. Maybe every character has something kind of hidden that we just haven't really
I like that
yet.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything with Aerith or Tifa.
Yeah.
Well, Tifa's mechanic is fairly different from the other ones. I think her main hidden thing is when you do was it Unbridled Strength or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
When you KO, she's just stronger. Like she has a higher attack damage. So her attack stuff changes. That's probably what that one is. Because it's not.
Yeah, right. Because all the wording around it is super vague.
But like if you pay attention, which it's easier to pay attention with that, you would. But it's something that's easily missed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the gameplay.
Yes, I had so much fun playing this game.
Like when I finished the game, I just started up hard mode right away because I enjoyed it.
I understand. I've got games like that too.
God, a fun little story that I can tell about this game is that I beat it. I was going into the last couple chapters at like 2 a.m. And I was like, I just got entered chapter 17. I'm like, 2 more chapters shouldn't be that long. And I stayed up the entire time. And I had work the next morning. Like it was Monday morning. It was this last Monday morning. And so I got to have that kind of badge of honor in my business meeting when I was like, hey guys, I started working an hour after I finished Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, no, I'm out of work right now. And my schedule is so messed up. Basically stay up all night until morning to like early afternoon, like 11. I'm like, all right, now I'm up. Like you sleep through that time and then you're up. So which I hate, but it's what it is.
But I was just so exhausted. It was 8 a.m. I was like annihilated, and I was like, I really want to start hard mode right now, but I gotta start work.
Good. Like, I think that's most of the gameplay stuff that I have to talk about. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I'm done talking about the mini games and everything. Like the gameplay was just amazing. Like Aerith was literally my only like bit that I wasn't 100% on, but I feel like I also didn't approach it the right way. Like maybe if I played through it again and just actually started optimizing
I think it's fun, and then once you realize like how stuff works, like her charge shot has the thing to do like double hits and stuff like that. If you implement all of the tools that she has in hand, I think it's pretty good. What'd you say?
You have Fairy Familiar on.
Yeah.
If you put her that butterfly familiar thing on,
I didn't get that till the end, so I didn't get that
for her.
Like leveled up. That's one of the other ones I need to finish is level up all the weapons, but I didn't get the last 2 weapons for 2 of the characters, so I didn't finish that one off. One of the handful of things that I missed out at the end of the game was finishing those ones.
Yeah, because I think isn't that the weapon that you can only get by doing the Madame M stuff in Wall Market?
I don't know.
Because I know Aerith has a weapon. I think it's a weapon that you only get if you complete Madame M's side quests. And then there's a different weapon you get if you complete Chocobo Sam side quests.
I was going to say.
I don't Chocobo Sam, and I got all the weapons.
Interesting. Maybe Chocobo Sam doesn't give you a weapon then. I don't remember what he gave me. I think I just got like a accessory or something, honestly.
Maybe that you just get that weapon.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
No matter what route you go.
Yeah, I might have. I honestly might have just ignored it or just like forgot about it. But yeah, but I think that's everything that we can really talk about when it comes to gameplay. So, are you guys ready to move on to talking about the story or anything else?
Oh, I mean, the soundtrack was.
We can talk about music very briefly.
It took
amazing
the original soundtrack, and I mean, it's like when you hear some of the Distant World stuff, where you're like, "This is how this was meant to be." They just couldn't provide it to me in a game format because it took up too much space or whatever reason. And this was just jaw-droppingly beautiful when it needed to be. Great action music when it needed to be, and everything in between. And like, then you have the jukebox stuff, which is just like, it's fun to it's fun to find them. B, it's like the music that's on them are fun. And or either fun nods or fun remakes or whatever else. They did a really, really great job with it. The soundtrack alone is just amazing. Like if you put that out on the shelf, you like listen to this, you'd be like, damn, that's so good.
Yeah, they have battle themes for every boss. It's a different battle theme.
I mean,
it's the same theme, but like it's remixed differently.
That's what they do with the
boss
original Final Fantasy
or the area
battle theme and stuff. Great. Is look at most of the games, they have some variant of the original battle theme, the da 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 kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But like another thing about the soundtrack in this game, if you guys didn't hear, there's a funny story about it where like they emailed Nobuo Uematsu about all of it, or they contacted him and they're like, he's retired, we don't know if he's going to do it.
Oh yeah,
like,
I saw
all this stuff, and he's just the second he got the like message or the call or whatever, he was like, oh, I've been waiting for you guys to ask me. And he's like, oh yeah, of course. And he did such an amazing job because like a big thing with game design that I appreciate, or from a game design standpoint, is dynamic music. And like it's so hard to implement. It was just so good. Like it felt amazing. Like it, oh my god. The dynamic music in this game, just going from theme into theme or going into like a normal theme to a battle theme to a scene theme was and the fact it's just so seamless. Right. It was like I noticed it. It like stood out and I loved it. Oh my god.
Even like the ambient songs that are just there for like background noise
100%
would have like the underlying themes of the area or of something else. And it's like that still sounds good,
even though like certain story scenes they'll have like the character's personal theme like intertwined in some point. So it'll be like, cool, here's Cloud and Aerith like a little bit like intertwining. Here's these characters, you know, and you get these sweet mixes of it and just phenomenal.
Yeah, like near the end game when they start like dropping in the Genova theme or when they start dropping in like the Sephiroth theme.
Well,
like
the Sephiroth theme is really cool because it's implemented throughout the entire game. Like, we're alluding to it. We're building it, you know.
Yeah. And you just catch these like little hints of it.
Well, you notice that in the demo. Like that was one of the things that was like a really, really like, wait a second. Was that what I think it is?
Yeah.
Angel.
Yeah.
And so that was just like a super neat like thing. When I first noticed that, I was like, what? That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And just you notice it throughout the entire game.
Yeah.
Which I think was very well done.
Yeah, and another one that I'm going to bring up is like the first time you hear Hojo talking, like they slowly put in the first 8 notes of the Genova theme.
Yeah,
you just slowly hear the da 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 da. Like it's goosebumps. Like the second it came up, I like wanted to cry because that's my favorite song. The Genova is like my favorite song in all of Final Fantasy.
It's a fantastic song.
Yeah, and the fact that they introduced it so subtly. Oh my god.
I love that kind of stuff. And it was not shy to put the little themes and airs of things into it. And phenomenal.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Gameplay and music triumphs.
Yeah.
Absolute triumphs.
Yeah. Okay, should we get into the story?
I want to geek out about music some more.
Okay.
No, let's move
on. So here's our official spoiler warning.
Oh wait. Even the new stuff, even the new songs were good. Like
Hollow is amazing.
Hollow's great. The collapsed tunnel. I love that song. Oh my gosh.
Like, I forgot how much like you just bring that up. Man, that song is so good. That collapsed tunnel. Like every time that I go in there, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Oh, it's such a jam. like no joke, I've been listening to Hollow like on repeat. I love that song.
Which one's Hollow?
So much. It's the end theme with the lyrics.
Oh,
Nobuo Uematsu like composed it. Like that was an original song of his that he put into the game.
I need to listen to that without like a bunch of stuff going on.
By that one band,
the Black Mages.
Not the Black Mages. No, they got a different band to do the theme.
Oh, I thought it was Nobuo Uematsu who was on it.
Just please tell me it's the Final Fantasy XIV team that made the band called the Primals.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, either way, like the music through and throughout, like
yeah, it's Survive said the Prophet.
Interesting.
Yeah, I there's not much to say about how good the soundtrack is. I don't think it's on Spotify yet. The remake soundtrack.
A little bit of it is.
Oh, really?
The first disc is, but outside of that, it's not.
Gotcha. I know it's on like YouTube and stuff, but
yeah,
because I didn't in the wake of everything happening, I didn't pre-order the game in time. So that and Persona 5 Royal, I just bought digitally because I'm like, if I can't get the deluxe edition, I don't feel like I need to go out. You know, I miss out on like a small like. Oh, I miss out on a pin or that Shinra card from GameStop or something, but I don't care enough to do that, you know? So I'd rather just have the convenience of doing it at home.
Yeah, I do like having the little pin card, though. I put it in my display case.
I understand.
Yeah.
Tie correction, it was composed by Nobuo Uematsu, but the vocalist, Morita, is from the band Survive Said the Prophet.
Okay, yeah. I assumed Nobu didn't sing it, but but yeah, that's still good. Yeah, because I remember constantly hearing like "Hollow" by Nobuo Uematsu, so I was just like, "Oh, okay,
yeah, that's cool."
But okay, you guys ready to move on to the spoilers?
Spoiler story time.
Okay, spoiler section.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into the story. This is the spoiler. I know what you're saying. I played the original 7. How do you spoil a 30 or 20 something year old game? We can still spoil it for you if you haven't played Remake, and if you want like the full story, like play the game before finishing this podcast. But anyway, there's your official spoiler warning. Let's go into the story.
Cool.
So it starts out like exactly the same. Yeah. Like the whole game starts out exactly the same, and with just some kind of like generally enlarged roles. Changes. Yeah. Like so Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge get a little bit more attention early,
and everybody loves them now.
Oh my god!
It's funny to see how much character they put into them, and now how big of a fan base they have for them now.
Yeah, all the memes about Jesse.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I mean, I've always seen Jesse's best girl back in the day, anyway. So,
but I mean, yeah, they gave all these characters who are mostly just like very minor side characters, you know, for the majority's sake of it, like life. They gave these people personalities. They have these, you know, convictions and wants and needs and stuff, and you interact with them, and it's really cool. So, like, you know, Jessie was, you know, she wanted to be an actor or whatever, and all this other stuff, and just like they added on layers to these characters that you didn't really give two thoughts about for the most part in the original one.
Yeah, like the fact that she went from this character that had like 10 lines to this character that had a starring role at the Gold Saucer and like a father who's in a coma due to Mako poisoning and like just all this crazy stuff. The Midgar special.
Love interest too.
Yeah.
They added so much to these characters, and it really shows a lot for, you know, character design and how they did it, and it's something to really you know, really appreciate, because that's why I play games for the most part, is I want story. Like the story is what matters, and why should I care about these characters if they die, right? If they've given me no reason to care about them. So like when you see them die in the road game, it's like, oh, that sucks. Here it's like, no, they're my friends.
Yeah, and they actually have like these very touching. Yeah, they have these super touching last scenes too, where like Biggs is just like, go get him, Cloud, and Jesse's like, oh, Tifa, you're crying. I did something wrong. Like, they hate. No. And I was just like, I knew it was gonna happen, but it was like, oh my god.
The thing is like, there's a lot of things you see, and you're like, you know, it's gonna happen or whatever. But like,
Oh yeah, my gut. Every time I saw Aerith talking and hanging out with Cloud, and we were getting close, and like she was so cute and saying all this really nice stuff, I'm like, Aerith, I'm so sorry.
See, I want.
I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, right. I went the meta route a little bit, and went more the Tifa route than the Aerith route in my run. I'm more of I like Aerith.
I've always been for Tifa.
I like Aerith more, but first of all, Aerith is Zach's Zach's love interest, and I love Zach, so I'm like, all right, Cloud's not touching her. And then 2 was the just like that was one of the big ones. Is like that's how I pair together. Plus then, yeah, she dies. Or does she?
That's something else that we have to talk about now.
We'll get to that, Ty.
Save that for the end.
But like, I really love the expanded roles that they gave Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge. Like, they made them feel like actual characters.
I mean,
they had this line I really liked where he said, "Everybody has a reason for being an Avalanche," and you get to see that from everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was really cool.
Wedge, he's part of the Watch. He wants to keep everyone safe. Jesse's got problems with her father, and Biggs takes care of the orphans. Tifa, her father was killed by Shinra. Barrett, Barrett's story with Shinra.
So good.
Everyone has a reason to be in this group, and I love that they showed that.
They developed a lot more and gave you a reason why you're there and why you're helping out. And it's funny towards the end because it's like when you're done, you can be helping out. It's like for the right price, and it's like
for the right price.
He was playing it very coyly because that's what he's been saying the entire game, and like Barrett would get mad at him. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're right,"
Yeah,
but he was totally serious then. But then when he did that line, you can tell it's like now we're friends, and he's making a joke,
right?
And he's not serious anymore. Oh,
yeah, because I really love how they made this. This is something else that we could talk about. The story is like how Cloud literally starts out as this like kind of like distant character, and you feel for him in a lot of ways. Like people are trying to pry at him a bit. But
he's kind of the poster child for like a PTSD character. Like he has these flashbacks of things that were like terrible that happened and stuff like that.
And they portrayed it amazingly. Like it's so good watching him go through it, where you could like empathize with him and like he's a bit standoffish, but you know why, and they really portrayed it really well, a lot better than I feel like they did in the original.
I agree.
And then Marl kicks him in the butt, and then he starts opening up to Tifa, and it's like, oh, Cloud's starting to change.
I think one of the big things too is the way that the Japanese version of 7 versus the US version of 7 carried the character, because I feel like by the end we got the more of the Japanese one where he was cracking jokes and like had humor to him and like is a character rather than like a distraught person, the very like Advent Children feeling
emo
character, because like Advent Children was like, cool, you're real emo, Cloud, you're real cool right now. And this, it's like, cool, you've got an attitude, and you have your problems, and that's fine, but this is how we did it. So that's why one thing I really loved is they didn't go. That was one of my big concerns going into it. I'm like, are we going to see Advent Children emo Cloud? Because I really don't like him. Like I like the movie enough, like for certain elements, but like the portrayal of Cloud was not good in that.
Yeah, I do like
sense after his character development in the actual game, too.
Right?
Yeah,
I agree.
Because like in the game, he comes out and he's like, he lets everyone know, hey, this has all been fake. I realize that now. But I'm not going to live that way anymore. I'm going to live as myself. So let's do this. And so like he grows and he becomes, he betters himself. And then the movie comes out a year later.
Kills it.
What happened? Cloud's back to his emo. I don't want to talk to anybody else.
They killed the character of Cloud Strife in that. Again, we didn't get that version of Cloud in the US translations. And because if you look at it, because there's enough like real altered translations or things like that like portray that character more in the right way, and it's vastly different. And to see that like it's different, but they nodded, like they had that almost nod to like this is how he's really supposed to be. Really felt good. I think I've said this before to at least some of you guys, is I didn't think Cloud was a very good character in the original Final Fantasy VII game. for the most part.
Yeah.
It was very, very bland for me. As much as I like the game, but that's some of the feelings I got out of it. This was a complete 180 where I'm like, cool, I like this guy now. I get different but similar feelings from like Zach, which was obviously intended, but different. So I was very happy with the route they went with him in this one.
Yeah, they made his characterization and his just overall like kind of hero's journey a lot more pronounced in this game, and they don't do it in an obnoxious way. Like it's not through like these large exposition dumps. It's not through just telling the player. Like it's through these very small, subtle instances that slowly pile up and pile up until you're like, yeah. And like the first time when like Cloud high fives Aerith is like it's just a small moment, but it's so cool, and you're like, wow, and you kind of realize how much you really start to familiarize yourself with Cloud or Aerith.
Aerith or Jesse, where he puts his hand up and he like, puts it down right away. It's like, no, I wasn't meant to do that. Like,
no, that was Aerith.
Yeah, that was Aerith, so cute.
Yeah, but she catches him and she's just like, were you just trying to high five? Yeah.
We'll do it next time.
Yeah.
There's a point in that dumb lever mini game that if you do it in one try, Tifa gets super excited and he's like, all right. And she puts her hands up for a high five and Cloud's like,
really?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, awesome. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that. That was like, hilarious.
Think of this, think of somebody who like grew up in this town and had all that stuff, like, expanded Final Fantasy VII lore stuff, but like have all that terrible stuff happen. But then like, you come back and like you having these visions and stuff. It's wild how they, made this like blank slate into like, this character. I was very happy with it.
Yeah, it really feels like everything that they've been building up through Crisis Core, through Advent Children, like all kind of leading up into one, like how he's supposed to be. You
see elements, I feel like, of every part of the anthology there. You get elements of Crisis Core, you get elements of Last Order, you get elements of Advent Children. I haven't.
Yeah, you even get a little Dissidia in there too. He has like kind of the quips.
What'd you get from Dissidia?
But not long.
In Dissidia, he's just he had some quips, and like he's kind of funny with some of the characters. He's still pretty dry, but like we see a little bit of that in the remake.
Yeah.
Like it's
I don't remember much of the story from the old Dissidias, and the new one is terrible, so I didn't touch it.
Yeah, but something that I think the final like big Cloud moment that I absolutely loved, and I can't get this out of my head, is when Tifa's just like, Cloud, you're so pretty in the dress, and he's just like, nailed it. Yes, I know. Thank you. Moving on. Like,
moving on.
That had me dying. That's so good.
And then he like immediately looks down and he's blushing. Like it was.
Oh, perfect delivery.
Oh yeah.
That's probably one of just straight up the best lines in the game. Nailed it. I know. Let's go.
Yeah. And by far like one of the best lines of the game. And just by the end of the game, Cloud felt like a character. He felt great.
I absolutely loved the developmental process.
Every character, all the character development felt earned. It didn't feel too much. It didn't feel out of nowhere. Like they did a proper build up to it. Like I could tell that some of the people that worked on the writing for 15 worked on this, because like the character dialogue is so great in 15 and in 7.
I would agree with that absolutely.
Yeah, they talk like real people.
Right. Well, like if you look at even just like the townspeople, you walk by, you hear them having conversations, and eventually it repeats. But like,
so many townspeople.
There's an old lady yelling at a Shinra guy. It's like, what do you mean I can't go through? And like
those Shinra guys were hilarious, by the way.
Oh, fantastic! When the last Shinra guy's just like, oh my god, it's Cloud. It's just like, okay.
I mean, starting at the beginning, like, even.
Sir, you can't be here. And then the guy's like, that's not a warning. He's like, sir, you can't be here. He's like, no.
That dialogue was fantastic.
Like, sir, you have to get out of here. I'll be forced to use my gun.
I wanted to bring that up because I'm like, this is very much a like Jack interaction when you just keep like bugging the person. Because like every time I hang out with you while you're playing a game, you do that kind of stuff and you like push these characters. Because I did the same thing. In it.
Yeah. That's the golden dialogue.
And there's another one in Madame M's one when she's like helping Aerith change. And you like keep going back like, do you want to lose a hand, like kind of stuff? Because you keep pushing, trying to get in.
Yeah. I sat and listened to so many people's dialogue too, because especially during the plate falling and during the reactor blowing up, is hearing how the civilians are taking it and how their world is affected by all this. That provided so much more depth to what was going
exactly
on.
I think with the original 7 is there's a lot of the inflection of like how big of a deal this stuff is missing, considering just like how different the game was, limitations that there were, things like that. And like they built like I feel like I didn't understand like the level of everything going on. So I was the plate's falling, whatever. Oh, this thing's happening, whatever. Just because of the way it was portrayed. And this, it's like, damn, like that many people dying, you know, and they're giving numbers to it and everything else. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah, like that was something that I like almost forgot about. Like when everything started kind of coming, when we started getting to the climax, when the plate was gonna fall, like as I was playing through that, I was like, I barely remember this from the first game. I remember the fallout of it, barely. Like I remember the 2 screens of badness that you see after
I remember having to like
I don't
move
remember anything
around.
Yeah. But then when you get to this game, when you're like overlooking it in the next chapter, and when you hear all these people say, it's like it really sits with you. It reminded me of Final Fantasy VI in a way where it's just like you lost and you see the effects of it.
Absolutely. I think this game was an accumulation of a lot of things that they learned from previous games and stuff, in many ways. And I think they put pieces all together really, really, really well. Moving forward from the little bit that we've been on, just like how the characters have grown and stuff like that. They did a wonderful job. I think they still left room for the future bits, because there's a lot of stuff that they didn't explain or grow out, which is good because there's a lot of stuff to come, because there's still a lot of content left of Final Fantasy VII. But for the most part, it's hard to talk about the story as a new platform up until a certain point, because it's almost the same game, just expanded upon. It adds emotional depth. It adds a lot more to the characters. Outside of that, like the story's for the most part there. The big change is they added these things called Arbiters of Fate, the ghost things that you saw in the trailers and stuff like that.
Do you want to start talking about that?
That's like
because the game itself isn't different up until the end, except for a few instances with those.
Well, Sephiroth is introduced extremely early on.
Yeah, I mean, Envision
chapter 2
format type stuff.
Yeah. But you see him in the original game. You don't see him until Calm, when Cloud is telling everybody about Sephiroth.
Well, I mean, again, it adds more to this character, right? He's haunting Cloud in his memories and stuff like that. And then on top of it, it brings in like a character, a bad guy, to the beginning of the game, right? Where it's haunting you throughout the entire game. And I think that adds so much more to this, because Sephiroth is already part of the story at this point. If you've played Crisis Core, if you've played, if you've watched Last Order, if you've done this other stuff, he's already a part of the story. You know what I mean? And so implementing him early, I don't think you lose anything of it. I think you gain a lot more from having him introduced early, because not everybody, but a large chunk of the people playing this already know who Sephiroth is, right? Just like most people know who Cloud is to a certain extent. And so I think them having him in there early as like visions and stuff is like super hype. It's very like exciting for like, oh, are we going to get it? Like up until then, up until it happens, I'm like, are we going to fight Sephiroth? I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
And so
go
ahead.
And like, it's just like keeping an elephant behind a curtain. Like the thing is, everybody knows he's there. Everybody knows he's this like integral part of the story. Everybody loves Sephiroth. He is the anime long hair white anime boy. Like everybody loves Sephiroth, and by incorporating him more into the remake, I think was just a good call, because as you mentioned, like in the original, he doesn't show up that early. Like it takes him a while before he actually even becomes the antagonist, really.
Something like that.
Yeah. And in here, I do like that they were Yeah, they weren't super subtle about it, but the thing is, like, they were hinting at him, and they were like constantly talking, like, "Oh, Sephiroth, and the fact that it's
he's
all these
mentioned like
hints
5 times before the Shinra scene happens.
Yeah,
so we didn't. Yeah, and that's when you get introduced.
I thought was great.
Yeah, and that was just something amazing, is that you get all these like visions of Sephiroth, you get all these hints of Sephiroth, and then you see his like boots, and you're like, oh my god, there he is. It's the first time that you like see Sephiroth. Well, as far as we know, Sephiroth.
It was very hype.
And yeah, it was great. Yeah, I feel like they introduced Sephiroth really well.
Interesting.
Yeah,
well,
but
I definitely disagree with both of you guys.
Really?
I felt like I understood why they did it, because a new audience coming in, they need to have a villain.
Yeah.
They need to have the overarching bad guy. But I don't think it has the same impact of explaining why Sephiroth was so cool and why he's a great villain.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't introduce him, it doesn't build him up. Because when you first play it in Final Fantasy VII, he, like you said, he's talked about a lot. He's mentioned. He's this great unknown. You only hear whispers about who this guy was. Cloud wanted to be him. The president says that Cloud will never be him unless he's another Sephiroth.
Yeah.
And then when the scene happens, when Cloud and them get out, you're like, Cloud and his team got captured by Shinra, so they obviously can't take this corporation down. They just can't. And then all of a sudden, in the night, this guy comes in and just kills the president and sets everyone free, kills everybody, and shuts this place down. It's like, who is this guy? And then they're like, oh, this is Sephiroth. And you're like, oh my gosh. And then you go and see the Midgar Zolom, on that pike, and you see how amazing this guy is and how powerful and scary he is. And then when you get introduced to him, you start to fear him and start to understand why this guy is as powerful and important as people say he
I think
is. But they don't have that.
I think your opinion isn't wrong on it by any means. I think it's just the way you perceived it. I know for me, I think it added more for the fact of because the scenes you get with him are very, very short. They're very it's very limiting. Like, they don't really say much. It's very much it's like he's a ghost haunting Cloud, to an extent. And
and not this like legend.
So it's a little different. I think it does a similar thing, but in terms of a standalone game, if you're just buying this, never played the game before, I think it does a hell of a lot more. Instead of just like throwing a fight with Sephiroth.
Yeah, you kind of have to do that.
So I think there's a place for it. I think what you're saying isn't wrong either, to a certain extent, depending on how you took the game. But that's how I feel about it, at least. So.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, a big thing about the original game was that scene where you just see President Shinra with Sephiroth's sword in his back. And that was such a powerful scene, and we just don't get that.
Well, they don't.
Yeah,
but then they turn around and stab Barret.
Yeah.
Did you expect that? I did.
Yeah.
I was like, how dare you? How dare you, game?
But my only issue with that is the fact that the Arbiters of Fate are like, wait, no, that didn't happen in the original game. Let's fix that.
It was an entryway into explaining what they are.
Yeah. And I feel like now is a good time to talk about the
that's
Arbiters
the big
of
thing
Fate.
to talk about.
Yes.
Because it's the big thing that I've been seeing like people arguing about. That's the big thing. There was this one guy who was just like, I'm selling my copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, the Arbiters are bullshit and like all this stuff. Where, to like quickly explain it to the audience, there's these ghosts that keep showing up around the game,
plot point,
and they stop. Yeah, and they stop the game from going in a different direction, almost to this point where they're almost like a Deus Ex Machina. And like there's
meta.
Yeah, and in the original, Cloud does 2 missions with Barret. In this one, Barret turns him down for the second one, and the Arbiters harm Jesse, so Cloud has to. And that keeps happening. Aerith almost falls off, and then she does it. They almost get captured by Reno, and then they don't. And it keeps going and going and going, and they're this like kind of physical manifestation of fate. But at the same time, it feels little.
We're getting into fate.
It's
Chrono Cross
it's
memories.
interesting because it's like this almost it's this almost meta commentary, because it's like, this is how people want the story to go, but we want to explore it in our own way.
Well,
but
one of the big things that a lot of people I've seen pull up is, the now there's different timelines, right? And that's one I see keep brought up a lot is that like Aerith and Sephiroth basically have like not future sight, but like they have a way to see like these different timelines in a way. Like that's the images that keep getting sent when Aerith touches somebody or things like that. And so like, is that the way the next one's going to go, where it's going to go in a very different way from the original 7? Because these things are trying to keep what actually happened right, because the team ends up beating Sephiroth, right? That's like the end goal of it, because they can't control him and stuff, right? But Sephiroth knows what happens. They know this. It implemented really well with the they had that reference that Sephiroth made. It was kind of on the cuff where it's he said sorry, he's like taunting Cloud. He's like, you changed destiny, and now you have 7 seconds. What are you going to do with them? Do you know what that was reference to? In the original scene, when Sephiroth kills Aerith, it takes 7 seconds for him to like come down and kill her. That's what the reference is.
Interesting.
That scene when he comes down takes 7 seconds at the end of the remake game, where because he was like, you have 7 seconds. What are you going to do with them?
What did he say? What did Cloud say?
I
can't remember.
I think Cloud just stays silent, because that's during the like little bit where it tries to mirror.
Yeah, it was like at the very end thing. So, but yeah, those are very like, whoa kind of thing. And so I think the next one is going to be a big change, because like obviously that hasn't happened yet. So that alludes that there's way more going on than we know. Like, do they have a different timeline site, things like that? That's why people are like, oh, because they're showing images of Zack. Is that them revealing more about like what Zack is to Cloud, or is that a way saying like he's alive in a different timeline, things like that? Which is really interesting.
I thought I saw that too. I don't agree with the different timeline thing. I took my interpretation was that the Whispers were literally the developers keeping the game on course.
Yeah.
And then when you finally defeat Fate, because they're constantly showing you visions of the future, and all of those visions were of footage from the anthology games. Like Red 13 was running with his kids. That was from Advent Children.
Yeah.
The meteor coming down, that was from the game and stuff. Like all the stuff that you saw was things that happened. And then Red 13 says, like they ask, what were these visions? And Red's like, those are things that are to come if we don't succeed here. And so by defeating Fate, those things might not happen anymore. So the meteor might not fall. And Red 13 might not have his kids. Aerith might not die. Like now that they defeated Fate, things might be different in the future.
It's a different thing from the original game. That's kind of where the idea of it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's still in the canon. It's not in the canon. Well, I think it was the chanonology. It's not connected to every other game, and they should just. I think people should just take this as a separate entity entirely.
Yeah, because it is. I feel like the big duality of this is the weird thing is like we wanted like a 1-for-1 new version of the old game. But at the same time, the developers, they want to be able to do their own input. And that's why I'm a little split on it. Because, it'd be great to get like just a 1-for-1 of Final Fantasy VII. But I still like the direction that they're going in. I do like that idea of them saying, we can break what's going to happen. We can change what's going to happen.
I think what they've done so far is a great basis point. It lets the people who are really excited to see it in a new direction go forward. Because it's almost like getting a new Final Fantasy VII game for the first time. Because they've made those changes. It sucks because I did want a 1-to-1 remake in a sense. But at the same time, I'll just go play the original one. they've updated graphics and stuff here and there. If you want to play the same game, play the same game. You've been doing it for 25 whatever years.
Yeah.
So if that's what you want to do, go for it. But if you want something new, play this one because it's good.
I do remember them also having an interview saying that they're not going to use anything from the other anthology games. And you can see that too when you go into the underground
what do you mean
labs.
by using stuff from anthology?
Right under
like having a secret area or something from the anthology stuff?
Like the underground labs, you could have found something, or there was a reference to Deep Ground, but they didn't say that.
I see what you're saying.
There was nothing there.
Yeah.
It could have been Deep Ground, but they didn't, and so they could be setting
stuff up for next time.
They could be saying that setting it up for yes, Deep Ground could exist because there's underground labs. But that's literally where Deep Ground is underneath.
I never played Dirge of Cerberus, so yeah.
I was heavily into it, so I know all that stuff.
Yeah, I literally read all the lore of it yesterday. I was just like, might as well catch up. I want to see if there was any Dirge of Cerberus Easter eggs I missed.
Thing in Final Fantasy VII, besides Before Crisis. It was Before Crisis and Dirge of Cerberus I didn't really touch. Before Crisis was that phone game.
It also...
And then You're right. Yeah. And then Dirge of Cerberus was just like something I never got. And then when Jack, you lent it to me at one point, and I just immediately was just like, I don't like playing this.
It was a dividing game with fans. Either you liked it or you didn't.
I really want to go through some of the other anthology stuff. I booted up Crisis Core the other day and just be like, man, I want to experience this again after playing 7 because I feel like it connects everything really well, the new game. And I kind of want to re-experience some of that stuff.
Someone has a compilation of all the cutscenes of Before
I heard
Crisis,
about that.
Telling the story. It's 3 hours, so I was like, I'll watch that sometime.
But yeah, I don't think there's anything crazy important to it. It just adds more lore for the Turks, mostly, I think. So does Crisis Core.
Though I do. Yeah.
But I did like how they handled the Turks in this one. They actually...
the Turks were amazing.
They're like, I don't know if this is okay.
Right.
But we got to do it because the boss said so.
Yeah. They made them feel like human characters.
Yeah, really.
I feel like there's a lot of characters that I'm saying that about, but the overall characterization of this game from the Turks...
I love how cocky the Turks are. And just we got to beat this guy.
Yeah. Oh man! Okay, so when the helicopter blows up on the plate, and then Reynolds like, "Rude, no!" And then he picks up the glasses. He's like, "No!" And then Rude comes out and grabs them.
I love when his glasses break and pulls out the other pair of glasses.
So good.
Then we begin to see a bit of his crush on Tifa, which I guess was present in the movies or the novelization.
Oh, the game.
Yeah,
there's a scene where Rude says Tifa sang like Aerith in the original one.
Oh yeah. And then there's in the new one, there's when they're aiming at Tifa, or Reno's aiming at Tifa, and Rude
I forgot about that.
Moves the helicopter.
Oh, that's why he did it.
That connects a lot more now that I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
that makes a lot more sense now. That's great.
Yeah, and because that's what I like is it's not 100% confirming all of the extra stuff. It's not 100% confirming Dirge. It's not, but it's acknowledging them and it's kind of bringing it all in. And then I think now's the time for us to talk about the last important thing is the last two boss fights and the Zack cutscene.
And then I have one more thing after that.
Okay, because I thought the whole fight against Fate, it was cool, but it felt a little unnecessary to me.
I mean, it was just Kingdom Hearts. That's what everyone's saying. That's what it is. It's Nomura. It was a Kingdom Hearts fight. That's all it was.
And it really feels like it. It was kind of cool fighting against these, I guess, failed versions of Cloud, Barret, and Tifa.
One of the things with the timeline,
but it just felt
things that people were saying that those are ghosts from failed timelines of Tifa, Cloud, and Barret because there's one of each type. In terms of that argument, not that I believe it or anything. I think it's just interesting commentary. At the very least. But yeah, you fight the ghost of sword punching and gun, basically. And then you fight kind of not really, but you fight the one of the bosses from Kingdom Hearts Like that's basically what it is. It's
Yeah. We're basically fighting
it's
a
just like
giant
cool.
Heartless.
I didn't like that.
And then they make you do the final Sephiroth fight.
I didn't like the Heartless fight.
Yeah,
I'm like, this
'cause I
is dumb.
thought-
This just doesn't. I feel like it just didn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I even
It
kind of
didn't.
feel like the Sephiroth fight didn't fit. 'Cause
No, they
it's-
didn't need to do that. That's an endgame fight.
I feel like what they
That's
should
just
have
a
done
series fight.
was
Yeah.
make you think you were about to fight him. Like you do like a swing, and then
Yeah.
then he just like pushes you away or something and like ends the fight. Like something like that where they're like, we're
Yeah.
teasing you. You
Like-
know, you don't get the full fight with me.
Yeah. The thing is, yeah, because for me, if they didn't call him Sephiroth, if they called him like the Vision of Sephiroth, or like Sephiroth of
Get
Past
some
Past
mannequin.
Sephiroth, or something like that, I'd be fine with it. But it's just the fact that it's like, oh, you're fighting against Sephiroth now.
But
It's like,
that
I
goes
shouldn't
against that goes with what I was saying earlier about how
yeah,
the original game sets him up to be this badass.
Yeah.
Is because you don't ever fight him. You only fight Genova,
Yeah.
and you fight him at the very end. But in this, you
Well,
fight him at the
there's
very
lots that we
beginning
don't
of the
know.
game, and it's like, well, now I know I can beat him.
The thing
or
is,
at least
Yeah.
the version
we
of
don't
him.
like.
He's not
We don't know if he
scary.
was, controlling it or something like because I mean they're the remnants or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That exists in Final Fantasy VII lore, where they're like parts of Sephiroth. We don't know if he's like,
Yeah.
cool, I could send something out as like a vision or as another thing or whatever. Maybe we get context in the next one that wasn't like
Yeah.
really Sephiroth. It was something he was controlling or something like that.
That can
Oh,
actually segue
yeah.
into what I wanted to talk about.
yeah, but that
feel like-
that should have been like
I feel like
referenced
that
in
too.
here. Is my only issue with it.
But there's, the thing
Yeah.
is they left the ending so like ambiguously, like there's a ton of questions. I feel like that's just a Nomura thing. You look at Kingdom Hearts, it's
Yeah.
all questions that don't get answered.
Yeah, and before we get into
Yeah.
the Zack cutscene, what did you want to talk about, Jack?
So that's one of the things what Western people are so confused about is
Right.
like, was that Sephiroth? Was it not? It's a lot more clearly explained in the Japanese
Okay.
version of the original game. You're not ever chasing Sephiroth in the beginning. That's
Right.
always Genova you're chasing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The Sephiroths that in this remake, those
Right.
are all Genova. It's not Sephiroth. Sephiroth's in the crater. You don't actually, deal with him until when you release him
Right.
from the crater with the rest of the weapons.
And I need to play through the original.
That is Genova's been the bad guy the whole time, and
Yeah.
she's
Right.
the one haunting Cloud, not Sephiroth. He's using Sephiroth because
Right.
she literally merged with him when Cloud launched them into the live stream.
yeah,
And so that's also like people are like, what is this? Is this Sephiroth? Like, no, it's just Genova controlling all these failed experiments by Hojo to
Yeah.
create
Right. I mean,
super soldiers. But
Yeah.
they're really just there to prove the reunion theory that Hojo believed in this whole
yeah.
reunion of cells of Genova
Right.
to go to the promised
Well, I
land.
mean, that lines up with
So, like,
there are in Crisis Core there are clones of Sephiroth, there are clones of Genesis and Angeal. Most of them are failing and degrading, but who knows? Like there could have been a more substantial one or something that then Genova was controlling in this game. Like there are routes they can go with it that exist in canon universe that if they want to go with, they could. So I feel like they should have ended it explaining it a little bit better or something. That end of it, and I think what you're saying is good.
yeah,
Like it's right, but
yeah, that actually gets revealed later.
yeah, which they could
near
still
the end of
do.
the second
I mean, it's
disc.
one of those things. So
yeah. But I feel
Yeah.
like they should have just put more
It-
hints
it-
in it.
well, if you're gonna have a final
Now.
battle with Sephiroth,
Because the thing
if
is,
you're gonna have a final battle,
we're not
going
going
to
to get the next game for a
but
while.
at the same time,
yeah,
the amount of stuff that they
Yeah.
put in there to like look, you could talk about that final like chapter or whatever or so on forums for years.
Mm.
Like it's like being back when
Yeah.
in early
Until the next game
computer
comes
time where you're
out.
just talking
Yeah.
about it like that. Like that's the thing is they could do whatever they want and you could talk about it and you just won't know the real answer because they could make it whatever they want still because other game's not made.
yeah,
I just hope
Yeah,
they don't
I
show
know.
up
Who knows?
again. That's all. I hope that they serve their purpose in this game and they don't show up at the end. But knowing Nomura, they're going to show up at the very end of to
I think
save
last I heard
the
it's only
planet
going to be 2
or
parts
something.
still. Yes.
They're aiming for 2 parts.
Man,
because they went from
because I just watched a recap of everything, and there's a lot that happens after Midgar.
Yeah.
I hope they don't cut stuff out.
Yeah, see, that's why I think that they're aiming for 2 parts.
I don't know.
I don't
it
think
depends
they're
on
gonna
if
hit
they
it.
go like. I feel like a lot of it doesn't need the full explanation that everything got in this one. I think they could, if they keep it not necessarily closer to the original, but like close-ish to the original, they can get away with a lot more. You know what I mean? And they could implement it that way. But who knows going forward? For the fact of we don't. Like that's a couple years down the line, but I'm very excited to see part 2 of this because I loved it. Just straight
Absolutely. Up. Especially since now it's going to be a completely different game because it's going to be open world.
Part 2 is going to be huge.
How are they going to handle that? You're going to have like 9 characters.
Oh,
are they all going to be running around with you?
We don't know. Is it going to be a drop-in, drop-out system depending on the story? Is it going to be other stuff? Like, we don't know.
Yeah, are you going to be able to customize the party? Like,
I feel like there's a lot of stuff they could do, but I think guessing about it in this regard doesn't really get you anywhere. Because like I feel like a lot of arguments that you can make and stuff are just very arbitrary because you're not the one designing it, you know, and like there's about a billion different things they could do if they want to. It is.
It's always fun to speculate.
I'm not denying that at all, but I don't think it gets us anywhere because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like literally all we can do is just guess. But I feel like the last thing I think we can really talk about is the Zack cutscene at the end. A little tease.
Right.
Because we see Zack survive, which, you know, we're not used to.
How do you feel about that, Bill?
And then we see the weird thing is we see a different version of Scamp.
Thing that people were talking about.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't understand.
It's different because it's a different timeline or something. I don't know. We'll see. Again, I'm excited to see what they do with Zack or whatever because he dies there. He gets filled with holes and like, you know, is done basically at that point. Because I think doesn't he survive? He goes on the truck ride and like dies shortly after. It's not that specific part that kills him. So like, is that what it was?
In the original, he died there.
Oh, I'm thinking Crisis.
Yeah, in the original, he died there. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It was he took the truck ride to get there, then dies there. That's what it was. Got it backwards. Either way, who knows? Because like, if they want to, they could literally just put, oh, there's another Cinder Shoulder there. He dies right after that. You know, he gets shot there and dies. If they wanted to, I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be built into something bigger, something in some regard. Give me a part cutscene in the past where I get to play as Zack again, and I will die happy. Because Zack is the hero of the story. So
yeah,
you probably will play him in the flashback scene where Sephiroth's like, "Hey, Cloud, this isn't you. Maybe you play as Zack and walk around."
That'd be cool. It would be cool to have Sephiroth in your party again.
Yeah,
like, that was a part from the original that I really liked.
And doesn't he have like everything basically? Like, like super broken. Yeah.
He's got level 3 materia of fire, ice, and lightning.
Because I thought he had all 3 basic elements, and then he had like triple slash or something.
Yeah, and
he pops everybody.
He would demolish everything.
Yeah, because I think like the level difference was like, oh, you're like level 3, and he's like 70 or something like that. Yeah,
he's 50 and you're 1, and you have 1 materia.
That sounds
fire,
right.
And then he has everything else. And like you can die and he'll heal you, but like he just will take everything out.
We'll see how that goes. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I really want to play through more of the anthology stuff.
Yeah.
Again, because it's just been a long time. Like I haven't replayed the original Final Fantasy VII in over 10 years, probably. Because like when they first announced Remake, was it 3 or 4 years ago, if not more? It had been a good 5+ years since I played it, at least. And so it's been a very long time for me. I love 7, and it just is one of those things where I'm like, man, I really wanted to play it, but I kept pushing it off for remake. Because I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a remake of this. It's gonna be like a full a bigger, better version or whatever. And now I'm like, cool. Now I want to play the remake or the original one to see the differences and stuff. So I want to do that. I want to play through Crisis Core again. I want to watch the movie. I want to watch Last Order again. Just kind of reintegrate myself with all the lore stuff. So,
Yeah, I did that yesterday by just binging all the Final Fantasy Wikipedia.
I think so too.
So I think it's about time we wrap up. So we'll do what we do at the end of every episode. What's your general scores? Because I'm personally giving it. I agree with a lot of reviews. I'm kind of giving it like a 9.5 out of 10. Because it was very, very good. Like, it was amazing in my opinion, and just the gameplay was on point. The visuals were on point. Story was really good up until that last bit. Like, I feel like if they didn't try to pull like that whole fate thing, it'd be not a lot better, but it would have been better. And just getting a few more answers and kind of seeing where everything's going. But otherwise, everything else
score would probably be something similar. Probably nostalgia on. It's a 10 out of 10. 11 out of 10. Nostalgia off.
Yeah.
Probably either an 8 or a 9. Probably closer to 9 at least. Because it hit a lot of really good notes. Yeah. I think it did what it wanted to do really well, and I got a good story out of it that I didn't expect to be as different as it was. So I personally loved it. I think they did a phenomenal job with it. So
yeah, man. So storytelling top tier, gameplay top tier, characterization top tier, music's top tier.
Oh, it's beautiful.
One of the best looking games you can find nowadays.
Yeah.
It is absolutely worth every penny. I say it's a must play.
Oh yeah,
I agree with Ty. It's a 9.5 out of 10. The goggles on. It's a 13 for me. Like,
yeah.
I like I said, I started over.
It's so good.
Started hard mode, and I'm playing it through now. I'm not tired of it. It's great. Even everything. It's so good.
Like I'm giving it. Yeah, actually, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna give it a hard 9.5. It's not perfect, but it's very, very close to it.
Yeah, its shortcomings are.
I mean, do you remember that how much in the last episode we were like, "Oh no, this is bad." How many times did we do that here? It was all like, "We got this. I got this small complaint."
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
right. So it was very good. I'd probably say 9.5 even. I'd probably bump it up because it's that good. It really is. And if you have familiarity, a nostalgia for the original 7, like. Unless you're part of the small percentage. I'm saying, like, with the nostalgia goggles on,
or even if you don't, really.
Because, like, I know for me the entire time, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Here's Hell House.
Smiles the entire.
We're just gonna throw that in there.
Oh,
guys, they had regular enemies in the original game as boss fights, and it was so good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Every boss fight was great.
Oh yeah, that is the one last thing I wanted to get you from you guys. What was your favorite part? Because for me, it was Wall Market. Wall Market was so much fun and 100%. So ridiculous. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, that was a huge, solid, well-made point in the game.
Literally everything there just
really good
is what I remember it as a kid, and that was one of my favorite parts as a kid was exploring this weird seedy town, and they gave a life to it, and they added like little hidden things around all this other stuff. And they did it.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you, Ty. Wall Market is my favorite place in the game. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It is the best. What about you, Jack?
Yeah, definitely. Wall Market is definitely one of the best parts of the game. It's in the middle, and it's very strong, and it holds up.
There's so many activities to do there too, which is cool.
I think my favorite parts are just the original story beats and how they just got them really well. no. You know what? I'm gonna go back on that. I'm gonna say my favorite parts are the intimate moments you have with the characters. Like,
yeah,
they're not in the original game. Like, you have that one time when you're alone with Tifa, and him and he like opens up to her, and she's like, "Wow, I've never seen this side of you, Cloud." And then like you hanging out with Jessie and getting close to her, and then like you hang out with Aerith and their banter back and forth and how they grow on each other. Oh my gosh. I loved watching
looking back to the original game, I feel like a lot of the characters really felt flat. Even the main cast, at least until like critical points later on, where I didn't really care about them that much, you know? Like, you know, you have the big Barrett scene in disc 2 or part 2, disc 2, I think it was disc 2 or late disc 1. And stuff like that. So it takes a really long time for me to like have any care for the characters. And in this one, they did it early enough on where you care about the characters, but where they don't reveal like the big plot points that affected them and stuff up to that point. And so they just made them characters.
They hint very subtly hint at them.
And that's what you want. That's what they should be doing. But like just the way the game was limited and stuff in the past, they weren't able to do that. And like this was a phenomenal job. I again, I can't say it enough as how much I can't wait for the next part. So,
another couple of years.
It'll probably be a while.
Yep. Strap in.
Another decade.
But in the meantime, yeah. But in the meantime, this was JRPG Book Club. Thanks for tuning in for our pretty long episode.
That's it. Thanks for tuning in. This was Bill.
Yeah.
Jack.
Ty. We gotta do the whole thing over again now.
Jack.
And we'll catch you guys next time.
We're keeping both of those takes in. Bye.
Hey there, Bill again. Special thanks go out to Ian Harris, who created our logo and design, at Ian Harris 24/7 at Instagram. We also have Baron Von Future, who created our fabulous intro and outro music. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram, and check out his music on the web at baronvonfuture.com. And I'll catch you guys next time.